Welcome in, I'm Artress, and in this video we're going to be revisiting Green Purple Limb, a leader from OP09 that got quite a lot of support in OP10 and makes her, in my opinion, a very meta-worthy pick to take to a tournament. That, coupled with the bans making black less of a popular color, I feel like makes Limb very strong at this point in time. But before we go over the deck list and how the deck works, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to drop a sub and hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. It helps out the channel so much. I cannot thank you guys enough for the support. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, make sure to join the Discord. The link for that is in the description below. So if you're unfamiliar with the leader, she is a green and purple leader with 4 life that has a very interesting clause that says your characters enter play as rested, but the caveat here is that you can activate main once per turn, rest 3 of your Dawn, and set up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck as rested, then play a 5 cost or lower Odyssey type character from your hand onto the field. Of course, that's coming in rested. However, that doesn't matter. You are ramping up very fast, getting to your 9 Dawn turn within a couple of turns, a lot faster than other decks will. And so because of that, you're trying to play out a lot of Odyssey bodies to annoy your opponent in the early to mid, I guess there's not even a mid stage because you're ramping so fast, but in the early to mid stage of the game. And then the late stage for you gets a couple of turns sooner than your opponent. You're dropping things like 9 cost Zoro, and in some instances, Shanks for this deck list at least, and then the 10 cost Luffy if you're running that. So starting off, we are running 4 of the big bad boogeyman Zoro from OP06. This thing basically has triple attack. You just have to pay 3 Dawn and it restands itself 3 times. Very much a menace once it hits the field. Of course, before the bans, it was a lot easier to answer this because Black had Ice Age, and so you could hit this very easily by reducing the cost by 5 and then getting it within range of other things. But now that Ice Age is banned, this card is a lot harder to answer, and so that's why we're running it as 4 in this deck. We do have ways to search it out. Otherwise, we might be able to draw into it naturally at a 4 of. Also, this thing is the whole reason why you would want to run Limb as a leader. Getting Zoro down on your 4th turn is incredibly impactful and much harder for opponents to answer. Even if they're trying to swing into it really big, there's not a lot of bodies that the opponent will have at that point in time. Plus also stacking all of their Dawn on into this while you're gaining cards in the process makes it easier to defend this. And once again, Ice Age being gone makes this thing kind of thrive a little bit more. Another 9 cost that we have is the 9 cost Audio. It says on play, if your leader has the Odyssey type, set up to 3 of your Dawn is active, and then on the opponent's attack once per turn, you may rest 1 of your Dawn up to 1 of your leader or characters gains plus 2,000 power for the battle. So basically just like a counter event, you leave 1 open and then you can use that for free. Free, I say, but it is, you know, something you have to pay for, so keep that in mind. Then we're running 4 of the 5 cost Sabo from OP09. A lot of these are going to be OP09 to begin with, but when we get to the OP10 cards, you'll see what I'm talking about. When attacking once per turn, if you have 3 or more rested characters in play, draw 1 card. This is one of your main card draw engines, of course, so you're going to try to find this very early on if you can. If you're going first, you try to play this down on your 3 Dawn turn by using your leader ability, and then on your next turn, you can play down a 3 cost character, use your leader ability to cheat out a 5 cost, and then swing with the Sabo so you can get a card off of that. That's the best way to use this character, but this is going to be something you're going to probably mulligan for outside of the Zoro, just so you can get this down very early. Next, we're running the 5 cost Doflamingo blocker, an amazing blocker here that says end of your turn, if you have 2 or more rested characters in play, set this character as active, so you can swing with it, and then it restands itself at the end of the turn. Very similarly, we have the 3 cost Don Quixote de Rocinante from OP09. It says when the opponent attacks once per turn, set this character as active, so it will automatically set itself as active. You can swing with it the previous turn if you want, and then if your opponent swings, no matter where they're swinging, it will restand itself and you can use it as a blocker. Next, we're running 2 Nico Robin. This is your anti-KO measure, so if you want to make sure that your board stays intact, if you're going against any black decks or any decks that have KO abilities or effects rather, that Nico Robin will prevent those from happening for an entire turn. Running 2 of the Ace, that's a 2k counter. This is just an on play if you have 2 or more rested characters. So you just have to swing with 1, and then when this comes out onto the field, the effect takes place. Then you can rest 1 of your opponent's cost 5 or lower characters. So this is very nice to be able to pay 3 Dawn for, and then rest a 5 cost. So if you're trying to go for game, that's something to consider. Next up, we have the 3 cost Limb, also from OP09, that basically is your searcher for the deck. On play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 card with the Odyssey type, and then put it into your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. And then the end of your turn, if you have 3 or more rested characters in play, set this character as active. This is the card I was talking about where you're going to want to play this on the turn 3, basically. When you're playing your Sabo down on turn 2, then you play out a Limb for just the cost of 3, and then you play out a 5-cost character with your leader ability. This is the card that will help you do that. So this is a very important card, of course. Doesn't have a counter, but that's okay. It's a body that swings, it restands itself, and it also can search for other things in the deck. Finally, a new card from OP10, a 5-cost Edward Newgate. On play, if you have 2 or more rested characters, rest up to one of your opponent's characters of 5 cost or less, then KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters of 3 cost or less. So this card will be able to answer something very early on, at least maybe a Brook if the opponent has it. It can rest a 5 cost, of course, so this also is another way to rest a blocker. If you're trying to go for game, you can use that for that instance. Otherwise, you know, it's a nice body to have on the field as well, so lots of upside to this card, but we're running it at 2 of because it is situational. The fact that it only KOs a 3 cost or less and the character has to be rested kind of is not great. I wish it was maybe like a 4 cost. It would be pretty good because it hits a lot of things in this meta, of course, but then maybe that would be a little too strong for only paying 3. So I guess I understand why it's a 3 cost at the end of the day. And then on to the next new card, we have a Nell, which is an on play. If you have 2 or more rested characters, draw 3 cards and discard 2 cards from your hand. This is one of the best cards to come out of OP10 in my opinion, because of the fact that it is playable in a lot of different decks other than just Lim. It doesn't have to be Odyssey characters. It's just if you have 2 or more rested characters, then this thing draws 3 and trashes 2. So you're able to really dig into the deck. It's like a Shirahoshi, a Graceful Charity if you're not familiar with this game. And so then a Nell, as a result, you're going to want to run 4 of because you're trying to dig further into the deck to find your bigger pieces like the Zoro in case you aren't able to search them out early. Next, I have 2 Mihawk. This is another new addition from OP10. A very interesting card that's, I would say, very similar to the Law from the starter decks, the green Law that restands. This is along the same lines here where it says on play if you have 2 or more rested characters, set up to one of your cost 5 or lower Odyssey type characters as active, so you can be kind of aggressive with this or kind of go for game a little bit harder, get extra swings in where the opponent doesn't expect it. This you might want to increase a little bit more of. I might want to increase this as we play into the meta, but as of right now, 2 kind of does the job. I do find myself looking for it towards the end of the late game where I'm trying to like go for game and I need like an additional swing, but that's probably the reason why I would want to increase it at that point. One of my favorite cards of this deck is the 2K Nami from OP10. This is going to frustrate your opponents to no end. This is an on play if you have 2 or more rested Odyssey type characters. Up to one of your opponent's rested Dawn will not become active during your opponent's next refresh phase. So there's a lot of important moments on the opponent's side where they need to hit a certain curve, and you can deny that from happening with this Nami. So you're going against a Shanks and they're about to hit 10 Dawn. You can play this down right before that, and then they are delayed from playing any of their 10 drop characters for an entire turn. So that's an incredible annoyance. Additionally, if you're going against decks like Usopp where the 7 Dawn curve is very important for that deck, playing this down right before that is also going to be quite the annoyance for them as well. So those are a couple of examples, of course, but yeah, keep that in mind because this card is not just a 2K, it's actually a really powerful card to play out. Another interesting card to come from OP10 is just the Lim, 1K counter, but it's a 1 cost. It doesn't really do much as far as being an attacker, but it's a great card to establish very early on because the effect says end of your turn, you may set up to one of your Odyssey type characters as active. So of course, when your characters are coming in, they come in rested, and then this character can restand them up so you don't have to waste cards out of your hand protecting a lot of your bodies. It stands itself up as well, and then it has protection where it says once per turn, if this character were to be removed from the board by one of your opponent's effects, you may instead rest one of your Odyssey characters. So if an opponent tries to remove this, you can make sure that it stays alive by resting something else, and then they have to swing into that thing instead of swinging into this Lim. I'm running 2 of the 9-cost Shanks that KOs one of your opponent's rested characters. You could change this out for a few other boss monsters or other cards as well in the Odyssey archetype. The reason I have this is because I want to be able to answer like Shanks. If I am unable to play down the Nami right before their 10 Dawn, and then they play out some kind of like Rush Shanks or whatever it may be, I feel like this Shanks is a great way to answer that, but otherwise you could have a 10-drop Doflamingo. I just prefer to have this Shanks instead, so take your pick as to what to play. Next, we have the 1-cost Law that searches the top 4 and finds a Straw Hat Crew or Heart Pirates type card. You don't have a lot of targets, to be quite honest with this, but the reason you're running it is so you can try to find your Zoro. I think that's the most important thing here. You do have a couple of other, like you can search out 2Ks like this Nami, you can search out the Uso Hachi, which we'll get to in a second, and also the Nico Robin. But outside of that, I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything else you can really grab. So the most important target, of course, is the 9 cost, because otherwise you're not going to be able to find this without just like drawing into it naturally. And so having this as an option to search for that is very important. Otherwise, it's kind of a weird card because it doesn't find anything else other than 2Ks or the 9 cost Zoro. You only have, looking at it right now, about 14 targets in the deck, so you're going to whiff more often than not, but it's kind of worth it because also it's an enabler for some of the other cards that have a requirement of where you need rested bodies on the field, so you can just swing with this freely, and then, for instance, you could swing with this first and then play out the Enel, and because this law is rested, the Enel effect takes place, so that's also something to keep in mind. But yeah, you're going to probably whiff with this more often than not, but it's still worth it because of the fact that you can find the 9 cost Zoro. And then I just mentioned Usohachi, great purple 2K here that just rests a 5 cost if you're at 8 Dawn or more, which you can get to really easily. You're not reducing your Dawn at all in this deck, so you get there really fast, and then this thing is live. It's essentially the same thing as having this Ace, or the same thing as this Newgate, just extra copies of it, of course. I think I said this before, but it's probably my favorite 2K, just the fact that it's a great utility, and your opponent always has to respect that you might have an Usohachi in hand. So yeah, that's the deck composition. I think that overall, it's very strong. It's kind of a tight list. There are some numbers you can move around here and there. If anything, this is non-negotiable at 4, but everything else could probably be altered to some effect. This I would keep at the same. This one I would keep at the same. This obviously I'd keep it the same, and same with the Enel. But the other ones you might want to move around a little bit. But I think it's a pretty solid list overall. Let's take it into the sim and see how it does. All right, I'm not too keen to go against Katakuri, but I think we might be able to, if we can get the Zoro down, we should be able to win the game, of course. This is actually a really good opening hand because of the fact that we automatically just have the Zoro and we have this limb. So let's go ahead and just play the limb out and then restand it at the end of the turn. The limb will also protect itself from any kind of KO effects that the Katakuri might have. Of course, if they have triggers, then that might be something different. But let's go ahead and swing 5. Let's use our leader ability. It's a great draw that we got the Sabo there. We'll go ahead and play out the Sabo and then restand it at the end of the turn so that the Katakuri won't be able to swing into it the next turn, of course. So we'll ramp up and then restand the Sabo. And then it's going to be pretty easy to get the card draw for this next turn. We just have to get, well, yeah, Onami's definitely probably their best play here. I'm going to unfortunately have to take this one because I don't want to drop all of the cards in my hand. So Enel would have been really good to have. Let's go ahead and swing the limb first. I think that's fine. I think we can just go ahead and play out the Rosinante as a blocker. We can swing the Sabo and maybe we'll get something better from the draw because I don't really want to play the Mihawk right now. Maybe we get something off of the draw. I don't know. We'll see. Perfect. We'll go ahead and play the Doflamingo with our leader ability after swinging first. Always swing first before playing bodies just in case there are KO effects. So then we can restand the Dofi blocker at the end of the turn. We can restand the Sabo with the limb. I might want to keep the Sabo standing, but I think it is what it is. If they decide to use the Onami to swing into the limb, we can just block it with the Rosie blocker and then protect it. So we're actually going to do that. Be a little bit cheeky there. Why not? Actually, I could have just blocked with the Rose. I don't know why I snapped. Sometimes I just snap hit things in Sim and I could have just blocked it with the Dofi blocker. Yeah, sometimes I just hit, it happens. I hit go next. So we're going to swing 6 here. We're going to swing Sabo here to get the card draw off, of course. I'm still kicking myself for not just blocking the 5. Do they have a trigger? Oh, no. Okay, that's not a bad one. It's not attack, so I don't get the card draw, but it is what it is. We'll be able to drop this Zoro very safely because we're hiding behind 2 blockers here. We do not have a lot of counter in hand, unfortunately. It is a problem that we're looking pretty low here, but I think we'll still be able to protect this Zoro for a turn. Yeah, they attacked the Robin into the Rosinante. That makes sense because it automatically restands. I'm not going to protect it. Did its job. Here, I would imagine that they're probably just going to try to swing into the Zoro, but I can just block it with the Dofi if they go too high. They also probably should establish like a blocker at some point, because if they don't, I could just close the game out, depending on what kind of trigger or lack of triggers they have. Okay, so here's the Katakuri blocker. They reveal the top, put a Dawn underneath their leader, and then they're going to swing 10 into the Zoro. I'm just going to block it, or I'm just going to give it a 2K. The Nami, actually, no, the Ace, because the Nami is going to be really important here. So we're going to pitch the Ace instead. We'll swing 6 at the Robin. We're just going to ask for cards out of hand here. Yeah, that's what we can do. 6 at the Robin. I'm thinking about what we could do. We could go like a Nell next. We could also swing the Zoro. There's a couple different options we have. We'll swing 9 at the Robin. Just to pretty much guarantee that this thing is gone. We'll play out the limb. We can grab a 2K to replace the one that we just tossed. We'll swing Sabo to draw the card. Okay, Mihawk, that's fine. Don't need that many Mihawks, but we'll have extra swings, of course. We'll swing 5 just to see what they do. They could block this one, but I don't think they're going to want to because it could just be game or close to game at that point with the 2 big swings from Zoro. 2K there. Okay, so let's go ahead and swing another 9. Get them down to 1 life. We can use our leader ability to play out the Enel. We're not going to gain anything. And here we're going to pitch out the limb and probably the law, because we don't need the law for anything else at this point. We already have a Zoro on the board. I think I'm going to play out the Nami because they're about to be on 10, so I want to prevent any kind of Big Mom shenanigans. So let's go ahead and lock them down so they're at 9 Dawn this next turn. We'll pass the turn. I think that's obviously the importance of the Nami being able to lock an opponent out of something is pretty important. We'll see in a second if they had a 10 cost Big Mom, but if they did, wow. I bet they're fuming right now. I know I would be. I'd be like, are you kidding me? Come on. Let me play my Big Mom. It's my win condition. Okay. Nami, not Onami. Nami to pitch a card that has a trigger in the hand to KO. Probably my blocker, yeah. And they're probably just going to swing really big. They'll use the Katakuri ability to put Arrested Dawn under their leader. Oh, Big Mom as the last life. That's good for us. We don't have to worry about any kind of triggers there. They might swing 11. Yeah, I imagine they'll probably just swing 11 at the Zoro. If they don't get rid of the Zoro, it's pretty much game for them. We'll go ahead and defend this one, of course. We'll give them a 2 and a 1. The Sabo is not really useful anymore. We can't really get the effect because we're closing the game out here, so just pitch the Sabo. And we have double Mihawk just in case we want to like do a couple of swings. We have a lot of swings coming their way, of course. So we'll go ahead and swing 7 at lead. They do a 0-cost event. We'll go ahead and swing the Zoro. I guess we could have swung Nami too, just to get the... No, let's do leader to play it safe. 7 at lead. What do they have here? Do they have another way? They have a counter. Okay, so they didn't have Big Mom. I guess we're just playing very safe there. We'll go ahead and play out the Mihawk. Then we can go ahead and swing the Enel again. Another 7. Okay. Yeah, they could have countered that one. We would have swung with the Sabo. We could have gotten a card draw off the Sabo. There's different ways to do it. Then we'd have a lot. We could swing 7 with the Sabo and then do the Zoro 3 times after that with the 3 Dawn remaining. So, yeah, they were pretty cooked. All right, going against Zoro here. I don't really like this hand. We'll go ahead and mulligan. And a Shanks is not necessarily what we want to see against Zoro here because we're never going to really get the chance to play it. But at least we get a law to search off a 2K. Usually it whiffs, but this time it didn't. This is actually a matchup that I think is limb favored, especially if you're going first. But if you're going second, it could be a little bit of an uphill battle because obviously Zoro leads with aggression. With this 5 swing, they might have another 5 coming down with a like 3-cost Zoro. And if that's the case, we might have to give him a 2K. Yeah, 3-cost Zoro here. We'll give him a 2K, unfortunately. I was thinking about the Enel, but the Enel is actually really good to filter our hand here. Especially getting rid of this Shanks would be really important for us. We'll go 5 into the Zoro. We'll play out a limb. I didn't expect the Zoro to go, by the way. I just was swinging 5 at it to get a card. We'll play the limb down, and then we'll play out an Enel. And then we can pitch out the Shanks, and I think we can pitch out the Nico Robin. Even though it's a 1K, I don't think we're going to really ever play it. And we'll restand the Enel here. The reason I played the limb is because I wanted the Enel to be stood back up so it's not being swung into. And potentially, they will swing into the limb, take it kind of as bait. I don't know, though. Sometimes people will swing into it. If I get the opportunity to get rid of the 1-cost limb, I usually will take it. Because it is really good for my game plan as a limb player. Like, it's just absurd what it does. Being able to restand stuff is really nice. It kind of like counteracts your whole leader ability, so, or at least the downside to it. 7 off the bat we have to take, unfortunately, and if they swing really hard here, I think we might actually have to take it again. If they swing 7, we'll see what they do. but they're thinking about it. A 3 Dawn open could be another Zoro, so they could swing like 6, but usually you don't lead with a 7. All right, so they decided to just swing 6 to 0. I guess they took the bait there. Glad to see it. Here we can actually kind of take the board back if they don't play anything. What, they didn't play anything? Opponent paid actor. Okay, so we'll go 5 at Zoro. They will likely counter out of this one again. If that's the case, we can swing 7 with the Enel, and that's going to be a lot harder for them to counter out of. 2 more cards, and I don't think they want to give that to me. Who knows? Maybe they will. Sometimes Zoros will defend a body to the death. So this one, they let go finally. We'll play out the limb. Grab, I think, a Sabo, because we have multiple Sabos in this. We could grab the Nami as a 2K for like extra prevention, or extra protection rather. We'll use our leader ability to play out the Dofi blocker. And then we will use the correct sequencing to restand the limb first, and then the Dofi blocker will stand up automatically. Make sure you're doing that correctly. Otherwise, the limb will, if you do it the Dofi blocker first, the limb will stay rested. Their follow-up play to that was double chopper. Okay, so this is actually an interesting play because I'm about to be on my 10 Dawn turn, which means that if I play the Zoro down and the choppers are standing, or are on the field rather, they have the, I guess, the initiative to really, well, first off, let's counter out of this one. We'll keep this in L alive. But what I'm trying to say is they'll swing their choppers into the Zoro, reduce it by 6,000 power, and it's going to be really hard to counter out of. So I don't even know if it's worth playing out the Zoro right now, to be quite honest. Let's go ahead and just swing bear swings at them. I think the better play here might be to play Audio. Audio will restand 3 Dawn. And then with those 3 Dawn, you can use your leader ability to play out. Looking at the Dofi blocker right now, I think the Dofi blocker is probably our best bet. Then we can have 1 Dawn standing so that we have the free 2K off the Audio ability. The counter out of this one, they might give us another 2K here. I don't think they want to go to 2. Kind of a dangerous spot. They block. That could mean that we could play the Zoro, but I think Audio is still a better play here just because we are able to cheat out an additional body, which is a blocker. And then we have the free 2K off the Audio. We'll be able to restand all of our units except for the Audio and the Enel. We'll pass the turn. I think this is like a really good spot for us. I think from here on out, like, it's going to be very difficult for Zoro to really get past our defenses. And this is why Lim has I think an advantage against Zoro, is because they can build a board extremely fast and they can get to taller characters much quicker than Zoro. And then Zoro has like issues dealing with like big top end, right? Zoro's trying to race all the decks that it goes against. They're trying to race them down. And if Zoro can't race down this wide board, then it's kind of lost. I think they had a really weak turn when they didn't play anything the turn after the 3-cost Zoro. So that was probably the biggest issue there. If they had something, they did have a Luffy, but I don't understand if they got that recently, or if they decided just not to play it. Very interesting choice to play. But yeah, this is an example of like, you can build a board really fast with Lim and then just take over. Purple Luffy is going to be a very difficult one because they decided to go first, which they always should. We would like to go first, of course, but if we're able to drop a Zoro down safely, of course, that's the case in any scenario against any leader, you should be winning the game. We have a couple of Zoros here to play, but will we make it to that stage of the game? I'm not quite sure here. So they swing 5, we'll take the first one. We just want to accumulate some cards in hand because usually what ends up happening is when we get to the point of playing down the Zoro, we want to be able to protect it. So if we're taking hits early, then we have extra cards to protect the Zoro with if they decide to swing at it. Of course, they start off with the Zoro Juro, their best play here. We'll swing 6. We'll use our leader ability to play out the Sabo. And then we'll pass the turn from there. The Sabo at least being able to draw us a card the following turn. So that's at least very nice on our part. We'll take the 6. And then we'll probably just have to counter out of the 5 here. This could be a potential Luffy Taro into Sangoro, which is their perfect curve, of course. Yep, Luffy Taro, Sangoro. Looking pretty rough for us, but maybe there's a chance. We'll swing 5 at lead. We can possibly just go really wide. We'll go Law, see if we get anything, and we whiff. Okay, so great. We'll play out a Limb, and we can grab a 2K because we're going to need it for sure. We'll swing Sabo to draw a card. I'm not playing this Law anymore. We'll use our leader ability to play out a blocker, and then we can restand the Limb, restand the Dofi, and then restand the Sabo. There's an argument to keep like the Sabo rested to like have them swing into it, but yeah, here we'll just give them a 2K. Draw a card off of that Sangoro, such a good card, of course. And to a Sanji to rest the Dofi blocker. Yeesh. Okay, so they have seen what is called the perfect purple curve. We unfortunately are getting skill diffed right now. We'll go ahead and give him a 1k. I think this is the only one that we'll be able to counter out of. We'll see. 7, it's fine. Another 7, we can't counter out of this one. Thankfully, we got a 2k here, so we can at least stay alive. Our only shot right now is to swing 7s at lead because they're tapped out and hope to draw a restand Mihawk. I think that's our best bet, but I don't think we're going to be able to do it. We'll see. We'll take a shot. They took the first 7. We'll swing another 7. Do they take it? Maybe. We'll see. I think they have the counter here. Yeah, 2 and a 1. Okay. Another 7. We'll draw a card off of it. Okay, so we didn't get it. Let's see if we can use our limb to find what we need, and we don't find it. Yeah, this one's looking scuffed. I think we just go ahead and concede at this point. We'll see if they take a 5 and maybe go another 5, but yeah, looking like it's it. All right, Red Purple Luffy is going to be one where if we go really wide, we should be okay. That's our best bet to winning this game, is just to go really wide. Even like Zoro's probably not going to do it, because like with Zoro, they will probably ramp up as fast, if not faster than us. And by the time we get Zoro down, we're not really having a huge advantage. Our advantage comes from having a really wide board here. So Law, whiffing, another reason to maybe not run Law. I don't know. Every time I use the Law, I feel like I've whiffed on it. I definitely maybe just recency bias. We can't really do anything here other than just use our leader ability. We'll go ahead and swing the Law so that we have a rested body, and then we can use our leader ability to cheat out the Dofi blocker. Dofi blocker will restand at the end of the turn. And then this way we have a 6k body to swing with the following turn. Usually on this play for Luffy, Red Purple Luffy, they'll end up, okay, it's to die 4, which ramps them up to 2 Dawn because of the fact that, oh my god, they just played 2 of them. So if I have a 6,000 power body on the field, they ramp 2 Dawn. I think they're already on 10 Dawn on turn 2. What? That is insane. Okay, wow. Let's just do our best. We'll go 6 at 6. We'll play out a limb. This Enel's pretty good. We can actually cheat out the Enel here and get the card draw going. And then limb and maybe another limb. Yeah, maybe the right call. Just dead cards. All right, so we'll restand the limb, keep the Enel rested because we can't restand it. Here's 10. Here they could just do anything. Like literally, it's insane. I regret playing the Dofi blocker. That's one of the most, like, that's the fastest I've ever seen Red Purple Luffy ramp up. That's insane. My mind is blown. And they actually don't take advantage of it. The fact that they swung that much means that they don't have to. Okay, so they have a Bond Clay. They just might not have, like, they had the nuts to at least ramp up, but they don't have, like, the oomph to follow up with it. So very interesting to see there. We'll play out the audio, and we'll go ahead and I think we will swing 6. We'll swing another 6 here. Okay. Thunder Bagua. They just have a lot of protection, it looks like. Not a lot of action. And a 2k. Yeah, I think they're just trying to buy time until they can get some top end. That's quite crazy, though. I mean, oh, gosh. I'm at a loss for words. That's so fast. God Thread to get rid of the Dofi. So, yeah, this is one of the issues with Dofi, or I guess Red Purple Luffy, rather, is that you sometimes don't have, like, any agency over what you draw. There are obviously some builds where you can play a little bit better, like, or have better consistency in what you're getting if you have like a Straw Hat version. It looks like they're running potentially like the new Don Quixote Pirates support. Anyway, we took 2 9s because, well, we have to. And I think their only out here is if they have a 10-drop Luffy, which is very potential. I don't know if a lot of Red Purple Luffys run that anymore, but we have to keep that in mind, that it could be it could be the 10-cost Time Walk Luffy. And that could be very dangerous. So we'll go 6. I think we just poke him for 6. Maybe not the best use of my Dawn here, but we'll see. We'll go 6, 6, and then maybe like a 10. Play out just hard cast a blocker. And then leave 2 open. And the reason we're leaving 2 open is because, for that fact, the only win condition I think they have right now is if they are able to play out a 10-drop. And if we have 2 Dawn open, we can actually use the audio ability twice because it's once per turn. And so when the turn resets, we get 2 turns. But let's see if they have it. I mean, that's just like me thinking like way ahead, if that's even a possibility. I'm trying to think of like, what is their out? Because like we were able to at least come back from their huge amount of ramping there, but they didn't really do anything with the ramping. So we kind of got lucky that they didn't do a whole lot. I think if you're ramping that hard, like what's the point? Like what, you have to be playing 10 drops, right? Okay, so yeah, wow. We didn't read them like a book, but we got pretty close. I feel like this was like a maybe, like they could be running this. Surprised that they actually are. I don't really see Red Purple Luffy run too many of the Time Walk Luffys anymore. So we'll go ahead and use the audio ability. So we'll pay one, it's a plus 2k for free, and then drop a 1k counter from hand. And then they'll reset the turn, and we have the extra Dawn standing so that we can use that ability again. Another 2 die for. Wow. They had so many of these. Just a dead card at this point. Swing 7 again. So we'll just use the audio ability. Plus 2, and then an additional 1 after that. So we should be good. And then 12 at the audio. We actually can counter out of this with 2 2Ks. And then we just poke them down from here. There's an option where we could actually play the 9-drop Shanks, but I think we just go for game. The fact that they're using a Gum Gum Giant on a 6k swing means they are bricked up, my brother. Wow. So we'll go 6, 6. I think we'll hit another 6 here with the Limb Leader. And then we'll just go all the rest on audio because they can't counter out of that. So yeah, looking pretty good. Okay, so they did have a Sanji in case we did, you know, try to prolong the game. But I think we kind of got lucky that they had a whole lot of nothing there. All right, Shanks is going to be one where we have to drop this Zoro, so we're going to keep this hand because we have our win condition in hand. And why not grab a second one? I know that's probably greedy because we'll probably never play a second one, but let's just grab it anyway. Because they might have a 10 cost KO Shanks. There's a world where we can protect, or at least if the first one goes, maybe there's a world where we can actually play a second one. Use our leader ability. Didn't ever expect them to take that, of course. Play out the Sabo. Really strong opening from us because we're able to at least draw a card off the Sabo depending on what they play here. Usually it's going to be a Lucky Roo. And we do have an ace to be able to rest the Lucky Roo, so that's something to keep in mind. We'll go ahead and swing the Law because there needs to be 2 rested. I guess we could have just played the Law anyway, but we'll go ahead and rest. I think what we'll do is to play the ace, use our leader ability, rest the Lucky Roo, swing the Sabo. For 6, draw a card. Newgate's not bad. Another thing to rest the Lucky Roo in case we need it. And then we can swing probably 7. Play out the Law, swing 7, so that we get an extra search off. Although I don't know if we're going to be able to get anything with this Law because we have 5 Straw Hats in hand, and we saw another one go by. When we grabbed the Zoro, we saw a Nami go by. Oh my god, we actually hit. I can't believe that actually happened. Wow, that's insane. The fact that we hit another Straw Hat off of that Law, too good. I guess it's just my luck right now. Okay, so Luffy coming down to swing 7 into the 5. We'll just let this one go. I think the Sabo is more important to stay alive because of the fact that it draws us cards. We will take this one because why not? It's more cards for us to protect our Zoro when it comes down. We'll swing to, I don't know why he blocked there. Interesting. Maybe he thought that he could block and KO, but it's 2,000 power. So anyway, that helps us out a lot. Because, I mean, we were still going to get the card draw off anyway because of the way we sequence it, but at least we can get a hit in. Are they bricked up? Why did they just take that 5? Okay. We'll play out the Zoro and then pass. Here, they have a couple of options. They can either swing really big into the Zoro, or they can block her up. I would honestly swing really big into the Zoro if I were them, but I do have a lot of counter in hand, so I might be able to protect the Zoro if that's the case. This Luffy's really good, though, because of the fact that if they were to play like a cost reducer for 1, they could actually just recycle that 1 Dawn and put it back on the Luffy. 5 and a 2, yeah, we'll take it. No issue there. Yeah, this is... When opponents see a Zoro come down, they take a long time because it's like, how do you answer it? What can you do to answer this thing? What is your best avenue to getting it off the field? If they were to just jam all of their Dawn on it right now and swing 14 at it, it's living. I have so many 2Ks in hand, so I think we're fine. The fact that they just did like a fake swing there makes me think, yeah, they're just blockering up. that's fine. 7 and a 6. We'll protect the Sabo because it draws us cards. Why not? I think we want to keep these Namis because we can actually lock them out of 10 drops if that's the case. I think they're pretty important for that reason. We will swing 2 first so that we get the rested character. I guess we could play an Enel. Because I don't think we're going to need to... I don't think there's a reason to ever play the second Zoro now. This Shanks is actually pretty good too. So I think we actually get rid of one of the Zoros. And a Sabo, because at this point we're not going to be swinging with the second Sabo. And we can swing with the Sabo, draw another card because of the fact that we have all these rested characters. A block. I don't know which one they're going to get rid of. The Sabo, that's fine. Cool. Awesome. Here we can probably play out a... We can swing a bunch with the Zoro. Swing 7. And then we can just swing 3 times with the Zoro and then play out a Nami and lock them out of any 10 drop that they might have. Okay. Instant block. They might take this one or they might block it. I don't know. There's a reason they put blockers up. It's probably because they don't want to take all the damage. We'll swing another 9 here. Okay. Yeah, block. And then we'll play out the Nami, lock them from anything they might have come out this turn. That would be taking care of our Zoro. So any kind of KO Shanks, any kind of rush Shanks cannot be played this turn. So that's actually really frustrating for players like Shanks where, you know, you have a certain curve and if you're unable to play anything on curve, yikes. That's why I think Magellan also could be a good option for some decks because of the fact that Magellan on KO like reduces an opponent's Dawn or takes them off curve. Even on play, it takes them off curve. Magellan might actually be a good option. I don't know for Limb. I tried it in the previous set, but I don't know if it's a good option now because the deck list is pretty tight as is. We'll let them have the Nami. If they, I mean, this one, they have to jam me out. They're just going to go all in. Oh, they do get the rested Dawn because of the fact that it stays rested from the Nami ability. That's actually kind of funny. Interesting interaction. Okay, so here we just counter out of everything. We just give them all the counter in the world. We keep up the important ones here. We'll swing 8 first because that means they have to give us a 2 and a 1 if they use leader ability, which they just give us a 2. It looks like they just don't have it. So, okay, so we'll swing really big here. 14, 14, 14 for the game. Let's see what they had. Did they have a 10 drop? Oh, yeah. They did have another 1, but it didn't matter because they didn't have any other cards in hand after that. They did have a Roger, but I guess that doesn't... I mean, it would have been an okay swing, but I would have been able to counter out of it, so... All right, we're going to go first against Buggy. I actually quite like this hand because we have 2 limbs. The fact that we don't really have anything great on turn 1 to play. Like, I don't want to play the Enel down because I'm not getting the on-play ability. We'll just have to use our leader. Oh, we drew right into the Zoro. That's amazing. We don't have to look very far for it. We'll swing 5. We'll use our leader ability to cheat out the limb. Even though we're not cheating it out, it's the same thing. We're just ramping. We're just paying to ramp, which is nice. I think we can grab the Sabo here because if we can establish the Sabo and then also play an Enel later on, that'll be really powerful. The downside against going against Buggy here is that they do have very easy removal for the 9-cost Zoro, but they have to have a wide board in order for it to be super effective. We're going to keep this limb alive because we want to get as many swings in with it as possible before they drop their 7-drop. So 1 more swing will be really nice here. I think we can also play out the other 3-cost limb here, and then we play out an Enel to draw a little bit further. Could also play out the Doflamingo, but here we just grab just the Dofi blocker. And then I think we'll go ahead and play out the Dofi blocker just to keep have something to protect these units with, or the 1 limb with. I don't know if it's necessarily like... The thing is, you play the Dofi blocker down now because if you don't, they could swing really big into the Zoro the next turn that we play it, rather than drawing cards with the Enel, of course. We can play the Enel later and get the card draw. Here, if they swing into the limb, I think we just let it go. If they swing into the limb, it might be a tell that they don't have the 7-cost Buggy, but I think we just let it go because if we protect it and then they play the 7-cost Buggy, we just give them a 2k for nothing. But this is the turn where they start cheating things out. So I would imagine their best play to be like Buggy into the Mihawk, but they could also have the Crocodile into, what is it, Mr. One Daw's Bones? Okay, Crocodile into Mr. One Dosbones. The one that is a vanilla, pretty nice there. We'll swing 5, we'll swing 5, we'll swing 6, and then play out a Zoro. We have a double Zoro here, so I'm less afraid of a Buggy being coming down to answer this. And also on top of that, if they do play out a Buggy to answer this 9-cost Zoro, there's like, it's not sticking. So they basically got rid of one of their top end for, I guess, one of my top end. And that's fair, because like the stuff they have on board right now is more powerful than the cards I have, but I can go pretty wide. Yeah. Okay, so they use their leader ability to cheat out the 10-cost Buggy for free, but because they don't have a board full of 5-cost or higher, it goes to the bottom of the deck. I think we just counter out of this one with the Sabo, because the Enel will basically do a better job on play. We'll take a 7. I think we'll have to take another 7 here. What do they have for 3? Probably a blocker, right? Yeah, Marguerite. Okay. And here we'll go ahead and just play out, or we'll swing Limb. We'll do a repeat of the previous turn. Ask them for another Buggy, see if they have a Buggy or not. Swing 6. Okay. There's a world where we just don't swing, but I think we just swing. We just do it anyway. We'll play out the 9-cost Zoro and then pass the turn. It's going to be pretty funny if they have another one. I wouldn't be surprised if they do, because like my win condition is getting the Zoro to survive. Okay, so they go Mihawk to draw to trash 1, trash a Mihawk. They have 2 cards left in hand, and they use the last 2 cards to bottom deck the Zoro. Oh, that hurts my heart. Yeah. But at least like we have math for whatever we're doing here. 7 at lead. Okay, sure, we'll take it. Do we take this other 7? I think we do. I think we're fine. Like we can probably push for game here. We'll see what they do. We'll go 5 at lead. They block with the Mihawk. That's fine. I think what we could end up doing is maybe there's a way to rest the Marguerite by dropping the ace. So let's go ahead and rest the Marguerite by dropping the ace. We'll go ahead and swing 7 into the Mihawk. Then we'll swing 5 into the Marguerite. And then we can drop a Dofi blocker and leave one open. And I don't think there's a way that they can actually get past us. We have a lot of counter in hand. And we have 2 blockers up, so I think we're pretty good, actually. If they if they evenly distribute their Dawn, this is not doing it correctly. If they swung like maybe 9, 10, 10, but even then 9, 10, 10, I'd still be able to survive this turn. So I think we're almost in the clear. Just depends on what's in their hand. Here, I'm just going to counter out. It doesn't really matter because I don't think any of these... The Enel's probably the most important one to be able to draw a restand Mihawk, if that's the case. Okay, so they go 10. They're going all in here. We'll just block. All right, so let's see if we can do it. 7's guaranteed, so let's just do 7. We can do 7, 8, 10. There's a world where we get punished by like a gravity blade, but oh, it was the last life. Okay, cool. 10 for the win. Okay, so the last card in hand was a crocodile. So yeah, as you can see, they can answer our stuff really easily, but it costs them all of the cards in their hand to do so. Alrighty, Teach is going to be a good one where we are able to, if we can find our Zoro, we should be able to pull out an easy win here. We do not find it, but we at least find a 2K. So I feel like in the course of this video, Law has actually gotten us something rather more times than not, which is actually impressive considering there's only 14 targets. Swing 5 at 5, they'll take it. Here, I think we just go ahead and play out the Sabo because I think Sabo, like I said, if you establish this early, you're able to get the card draw going, which is really nice. There's a world where you swing the Law, you play out the Enel. If they don't use their leader ability, of course, then we can swing the Sabo as well and draw a bunch of cards that same turn. The Shanks isn't bad. Okay, so they had a finger pistol anyway to answer the Sabo. Probably to be expected. That's usually what they have. We'll swing with the Law first. Swing 5 at lead. We'll play out the Limb. They didn't use their leader ability, which is fine, because that means we can actually play out the Enel and draw cards off of it. I'm just trying to search for a Zoro. I think that's the most important card in this matchup. We don't find it still, which is unfortunate, but I think we can drop this 1 cost. There's a world where we keep the 1 cost, but I think getting rid of the Sabo makes the most sense, and then the 1 cost is probably second best option. Because we didn't find any other top end, I think we just have to keep the Shanks because there's a world where it's just a vanilla. I mean, a 9-11 vanilla is pretty solid. So we'll see what their plan is after this, though. They might have the 6-cost event and just get rid of the Enel and the Limb, which would be very devastating for us. They don't have it. Okay, so we'll counter out of this one. I think with either Nico Robin would be fine. I mean, Nico Robin is probably a decent bet against this deck to keep, but I don't think we're ever going to really play it. So this next turn, we're actually just going to play the Shanks instead. The Shiryu is pretty solid to get rid of the Limb there. It's pretty nice. Here they might use their leader ability, but I don't think it really matters, to be honest. Unless they're expecting like an audio, and then the audio doesn't get the on-play, but I don't think that's a problem. All right, so they did use the black hole there. I think here we just swing 5, we swing 6, and then we just play out the Shanks, just so we can establish a really big body. And they are not going to be able to play a 10 cost for another 2 turns, so at least Shanks will get a couple of swings in before then. Or at least 1 turn of a swing. We'll see what they do, though. Please, don't let me get punished. Okay. I was about to say, if I got punished for that, I'm always swing with your bodies first if you can against Blackbeard, because you don't know what's in life. But sometimes I just want to do what is like fundamentally correct, like swinging 5, swinging 6. But swinging 6, swinging 5 is fine as well. We almost got punished, but it was a different kind of trigger. We'll take 1, and then if they swing the Shiryu for 5, we'll counter out of that one. Usually on 8 Dawn, it's double Burgess. That's usually the best play for them. But who knows? Some of our opponents have seen really good curves tonight, and then some of our opponents have kind of faltered after getting to the curves that they need. So like the purple Luffy really did well. I'm thinking of the red-purple Luffy got to 10 and then didn't do anything for an entire turn. So yeah, maybe this teach actually has double Burgess. Would be interesting to see. I don't know how I would handle double Burgess at this point. So Shiryu for 2k. Okay. Finger gun and okay, 1 Burgess. That's actually not that bad. I mean, for us it kind of sucks because I wanted to keep that NL on the board. We could really push them down to 0. The fact that they're at 3 life and about to go to 10 Dawn is not good for us. We still haven't seen a Zoro. That's insane. It would have been too late to play it anyway because they would have just stunned it if they have the 10 drop. I think they do. Go 5 at lead. They counter out. Interesting. Okay, so we'll swing to Shanks with the Shiryu. We'll clear the board a little bit. Now, this might be a questionable play. We can't use the Nami, unfortunately, because of the fact we have been black-holed, so we can't lock them out of their 10 Dawn turn. But I think what we can do instead is just play out 2 big bodies, or 2 medium-sized bodies, and then just kind of hope for the best after that. But of course, this would be a 10-drop turn. That's their best play. If they do the 10-drop, they would stun the Shanks. They would stun the Shanks, and then they would stun or lock me down for a turn, or lock my leader down, I guess, for... Not that it would matter. We'll block. We'll see what they do. Will they swing 9 into 6? I think we'll let them have it. I don't feel like dropping 2 2Ks right now. 10 cost, unlucky. So yeah, as I said, they prevent our Shanks from doing anything this next turn. Our leader ability is nullified for right now, but we don't have a defensive leader ability, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so they just pitch the Vanographer. Oh my gosh. This means that it's free pickings here. We'll try to bait out the Teach block by going 9 to 9. And if they block with the Teach, I'm going to swing all in on the Teach. I'm just going to clear it off the field. I'd rather have the Burgess than the Teach. This also requires them to have another Teach coming up. Of course, this is why Full Lead is so strong, because they can just search out for no Dawn. So they were able to get out the 10 cost, but they can't use their leader ability this turn, so that's really good for us. We'll go ahead and counter out there. I think I want to keep the Rosinante in hand. And that's too many cards to protect this Newgate with, so it is what it is. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to spend all of my time and effort this turn just swinging into the Burgess, getting it off the field. And then just hope that they don't have another 10 drop. If they have another 10 drop, we might be in a little bit of trouble. I think we can just play the Limb out, see what we get. Grab. I think a 2K is our best bet. And then we just hope that they don't have another 10 drop. They didn't draw into it, or they don't find it off of the Full of Lead. So yeah. Vasco shot. Okay. If they play the Vasco shot, that's actually really good for us, because Once again, they are unable to use their leader ability, and we actually have a world where we could double swing with a limb, kind of go for game. We could go like Uso Hachi, rest the Vasco shot, swing 5, use the Mihawk, restand the limb, 13 at lead. Okay, we'll take it. 12 at lead. Okay, we'll take it. We're going for game. We are going for game here. We have to play out the Uso Hachi, rest that Vasco shot, swing 5 with the Law maybe? I think we swing 5 with Law, just get as much mileage as we can. We should swing another, we should swing, this is where it gets rough. Swing 5 lead, we could get punished, okay. Never punished, we'll swing 6. Actually, we'll swing 9. We have it. We have it. Why am I even thinking about this? 9, 11. Yeah. Well, I was thinking about doing the restand. Just swing 9, 11. He can't counter out. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. We were able to starve them kind of and then just push for the game. But if we found Zoro, that would have been a free match. Overall, I think that I might have misplayed it here and there, but I do think that regardless, I still showed off how strong this deck can actually be, how much of a threat Zoro truly is once it hits the field. I think your opponent starts to scramble. Their brains go a little bit wild when they see the Zoro hit the field. They're like, what can I do? What can I do? Sometimes people will have answers for it ahead of time, but of course, if they're not expecting the Zoro to hit, which you should always expect the Zoro to hit, then they're going to be scrambling, as we saw in some scenarios there. The other thing I'm really happy that I was able to show off is that this Nami really locked down a couple of the decks we went against. So Nami is super important, of course. I wish that we got to play the Shanks a little bit more, unfortunately. Also, the Blackbeard matchup, I just played it as a vanilla, so I guess that's fine for those reasons. It does have other useful cases as well, but I think you could probably argue to move this to something else. Maybe the 10 cost could be better overall. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this list runs. It's very smooth. I can imagine that this deck will actually do pretty solid in a tournament. I think I put it into an A tier, and I think I still stand by that. I feel like this is a very solid deck. It has a amazing game plan. If you're going first, it's if you find your curve, which I mean you're basically always going to find your curve, this deck just pops off. Going second's a little bit more rough, but I think that it's very manageable to still win games. Of course, you have to remind yourself you're a 4-life leader, so kind of, you know, don't take too much life, of course, but yeah, I think that overall I'm very happy with this deck, and I'm going to be playing it a lot more as a result. At first, I was not very big fan of Lim when she came out. I didn't think that the characters coming in rested was a good idea, because I felt like you just could take advantage of that as the opponent by swinging into the bodies. But now with this new Lim card, it's a lot harder for your opponent to answer a lot of these bodies when they restand themselves at the end of the turn. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy Lim as well. Let me know what you guys think about the deck list. If you're running Lim, please let me know in the comments below. What else have you tried out? I'm interested to see what you guys have cooked up. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.